Welcome to PACTV Community News. I'm Walter Trichetti.
And I'm Julie Thompson.
This week on PCN, we stop by Myles Standish State Forest to learn more about Park Serve Day.
We stop into the Truth About Vaping information session in Pembroke and Duxbury Police Department, which held an open house for Autism Awareness Month.
We meet a mad scientist at the Kingston collection, and doctor's orders addresses knee pain.
We also have a new Treasury Notes with Plymouth County Treasurer Tom O'Brien. But we start tonight's show in Kingston. The librarians in the Silver Lake Regional School District appreciated the fact that they had such a strong ally in their superintendent, that they nominated her for the 2018 Administrative Advocate Award. The award honors those administrators who have made significant contributions to promote student learning through effective school library programs and services. Well, they must have written some really great letters singing her praises, because Joy Blackwood, the superintendent of Silver Lake Regional School District, was this year's recipient. We spoke with several of the librarians who nominated her.
We do really fun things, and a lot of our activities with the kids are project-based, so the kids get to take what they learn, and they learn through research, and then create something out of that knowledge. And often they're creating movies, sometimes they're creating raps. We just finished doing graphic novels where they did research on earth sciences, and they wrote a graphic novel. I do believe that the libraries are awesome because of Joy, because she supports us, and we need that support to be able to do the things that we do. And I think that she gets that. We have a whole overview of the school. So we work with all students, all teachers, all parents, and have a good idea of the pulse of the school. And because of that, when we are able to contribute, we have a sense of the big picture, and Joy gets that.
When you walk into the library, all over the library you'll see spine poetry, students who put together poems using the titles of books, and they're on display. We're very fortunate in our school district to have a superintendent that supports school libraries. We often see her at reading events. She's very supportive of our budget, and you know, we really appreciate that. And so it was a no-brainer to nominate Joy Blackwood for the Advocate Award with the Massachusetts School Library Association.
One of the biggest things that librarians have in common is that we all have opinions. And so when this idea kind of floated out there of should we nominate Joy Blackwood, it was interesting because we all agreed, and usually we'll have divergent opinions about everything, but everybody was on board. Her support has been invaluable. We could not have the programs we have in our schools without her. And there's been studies that have shown that school libraries help raise test scores and help students learn more. And she sees that. She recognizes it. She supports it. So we've been very lucky, and we all agreed that there could have not been a better superintendent to receive the award.
The Silver Lake Regional School District, Halifax, Kingston, and Plimpton are very blessed to have phenomenal librarians. I'm truly a firm believer in what libraries bring to a school system. I had no idea they nominated me for this award. I was completely surprised. I received an email one morning, and they're usually not the kind of emails that I get. I usually get an email that might be a concern, something for the school. To receive an award by people that I love and believe in was truly an honor for me.
Over the weekend, Myles Standish State Forest took part in the statewide Park Serve Day. The DCR hosts this event once a year to get folks out to volunteer for a couple of hours and to help clean up the parks. The Friends of the Myles Standish State Forest used this opportunity to get some volunteers to help finish fixing the boardwalk on the East Head Reservoir Trail.
Today is Park Serve Day for the DCR. They do it every year, try to encourage people to come and give a morning of volunteering in the park, cleaning up the park, doing little projects to make the park ready for summer so that we can all enjoy it. Well, today they have people walking. There's trails north of here. The park supervisor is walking with Bob Bentley, who has been maintaining that trail for the last 30 years, and they're going to go after a couple of big trees that were too big for Bob to handle. So, and then down at headquarters, they have a group mulching their flower beds and cleaning up around the headquarters. And then here we have a group working on our boardwalks. Hopefully we're going to be finishing up our second boardwalk today. This is the heaviest work we have to do. We have to replace these old rotten telephone poles. They're just old telephone poles that were up along the street that were cut down and repurposed to build a bridge. These boardwalk bridges 20 or 30 years ago, however long ago they were built, we're not exactly sure. We're replacing them with pressure-treated beams, 16-foot long beams, and that was part of the thing we had to go to the Conservation Commission to get approval. We're going to really need some serious lifting. It's good to have, I think we have like 7 or 8 people here today. That'll be great. The end result is that the boardwalks will be in good shape for the next 25 years. Well, I think this is the most popular trail in the forest. Everybody goes to park headquarters and goes around the East Head Reservoir. It's 2.5 miles, takes about an hour. It's a lovely trail. It's spring. We were out here working last week. We must have had 25 people go by us. I will be surprised if we don't have some people passing us by today, which will be interesting once we're in the swampy section, and we're going to be making people march through the swamp, so we'll see how much they enjoy that. It's a statewide cleanup day. The parks all over Massachusetts, so we're lucky enough to have 25 to 30 people coming out to volunteer here today, but there's tens of thousands of people all over the state who are volunteering, so it's a great day to get involved, to know the people who are running the parks, and to make it a little bit better.
You know, they put a lot of work into these parks, and you don't realize when you show up there, you know, to enjoy the park, how much work has been done going into the season.
That's right, to prep the park for each season. And we have so many parks and trails in our area, and so many wonderful volunteers. Like 25 people in one location was really great. And we need to think about that when we go to these areas, that people are volunteering their time to make them beautiful for us, and we appreciate it. The Pembroke Titans Against Drugs recently hosted an information session about vaping. Concerned parents were welcomed to attend to learn and ask questions all about the e-cigarette and vaping phenomenon that has taken the country by storm. PCN spoke with the evening's presenter to see what kinds of information she hoped parents would walk away with at the end of this night.
We were hoping parents that came out tonight for this program really understood some of the potential risks to a young developing brain and to the health consequences for young people using vaping products and e-cigarettes. We were hoping that they actually could have some tips and talking points so that they created could create some dialogue with their children around these products. We armed them with information. So we gave them some tips and included talking early and often with a young person, setting some boundaries and high expectations for their kids, and actually getting help if they were concerned about products like this. I think the young people especially are really confused about whether the products are safe. They were intended as a harm reduction or a smoking alternative for adults only. That was the original intention. But then as the products, more and more products ended up on the market and youth found out about them, there was a little bit of misunderstanding around that, thinking that it was just flavored water, that they were actually just taking in flavored water. And we know that it's actually an aerosol that's being produced, that's going into their lungs. We also know that a lot of the actual oils or the e-liquids contain nicotine. They may also contain marijuana concentrates. So that's where youth are maybe misinformed a little bit about what's actually in the product and the fact that it would affect them differently than an adult. I definitely hope that the schools and the communities continue to do a lot of prevention education around these products. We have been inundated with requests to come out and speak to students, starting as young as middle school, and also talking to parents and school staff. So I think that comprehensive approach would be really important, making sure the communities are looking at the age restrictions around these products, maybe if they're not at 21 plus, looking at doing that, because again, most of the products do contain nicotine, and so it would be good to get them only in the hands of people who are old enough to make that decision.
The the Duxbury Police held their second annual Autism Day open house. Families and children with autism were invited to come and take a look inside the police department to learn more about the outreach program. PCN stopped by to learn more.
Today, the Duxbury Police Department, which is 155 Mayflower Street, we're having an open house for special needs and autism. This month is Autism Month, Autism Awareness, so we're trying to branch out and get some more awareness out there, what we do, introduce the families to police and fire, the services we provide, and kind of expose the kids in a way to the uniforms and the people kind of behind them and everything, so that we're not so scary when something real happens. This year we decided to open it up to special needs in general and autism, so that way everybody was welcome, and even anybody who just wanted to come and learn and meet the police anyway if they wanted to bring their kids. So this year we did more of an interactive activity where we built a calming glitter bottle that is, it's really calming for kids to, you shake up the bottle and then you just watch the glitter fall, almost like a snow globe. So a lot of the time, there's lots of calming techniques for folks with autism, and it varies from person to person. They might have a certain stuffed animal, they might have certain toys that are kind of, they can squeeze over and over again, or even like a, say like a slinky type of thing where they just go back and forth. But these are kind of really good for if they're having a rough day and need to just kind of sit and focus on something. Also, we have like a whole kind of mini touch-a-truck event where they get to just play around in the, you know, in the fire trucks and the cruisers, and we had some ATVs here and all kinds of stuff. It's completely interactive. You know, we'll be doing this again next year. So if people want to come check it out, come on down, you know. So hopefully we'll have a couple more activities maybe, but it's kind of just like, it's almost like come on over to our house and just have a good time. You know what I mean? Like we have the cars out back, the trucks, like come check that out, see what we do. We'll see what you do when you're here, and you know, it's just a lot of interaction and sharing information and just having a good time. You know, we're just trying to, you know, make new friends, if you will, you know. We're always willing to give tours. You know, any time of the day, just come on by. You know, they can come see the cruisers. You know, fire department does the same thing if you want to ever come see their trucks and everything. So, you know, we're all here. We're part of the community. So come on down.
Jolting Jonathan loves performing and putting on shows about mad science for children with audience-engaging experiments. PCN stopped into one of his recent shows at the Kingston Collection to bring you some of the fun.
Are we ready? 1, 2, 3, catch it!
My name is Jolting Jonathan, and I am a mad scientist. Today we're actually going to be doing our Marvels in Motion show. Marvels in Motion is a show about physics, some of Newton's laws. We're going to talk a little bit about gravity, center of gravity, inertia, centripetal force, you name it, we're going to talk about it, and then we're going to be building some stunt planes afterwards. I've been a mad scientist for almost 12 years now, and I have the greatest job in the world. I get to basically go to schools, malls, scouting groups, anywhere there are children, and teach them about science. I get to basically do these big shows with explosions and fire and really, really cool experiments, and do all these things to get kids excited about learning. I'm one of the few people that kids actually want to go see and learn something. So it's pretty awesome. It's a big responsibility, but it's well worth it. I love doing these shows like this. I love the big crowds, the audience. I get a real rush. I do a lot of the really, really big shows, and I get a real rush. There's some adrenaline involved. We start off with a magic trick, because we really like to talk about the difference between science and magic. Magic's all about secrecy. Science I'm allowed to teach you. We go from that into a little bit of observation, how the brain works, and then we go right into the science with some center of gravity experiments, inertia. We're going to talk about centripetal force, which is a special kind of circular inertia. Oh, you name it, we're going to do it. I just love making kids. I love it even when you get the kids that make that. But it's even cooler when we can get the adults, where the adults really get into it. You know, when I have to remind the grown-ups, hey, we're going to let the kids answer first. I'm thrilled that you're into it, but let's let the kids have a turn. We come to the mall all the time. We were here over the summer. We've been coming to the mall for about 4 or 5 years now. We come here, we go to all the different malls, schools in the area. There's going to be a lot of laughs. There's going to be a lot of fun. We do what we call edutainment. And edutainment it's entertainment that educates. And I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised with how entertaining the education actually is.
Doctor's Orders takes us to Plymouth Bay Orthopedic Associates to talk more about knee pain.
Hi, this is Dr. Scott Oliver, and I'm speaking for PCN Doctor's Orders. So let's talk about knee arthritis and what knee pain is. As we get older, what happens is we wear out. There is a covering to your bone right along here. It's called the articular cartilage, and then you have a little rubber shim in between there, and then you have more articular cartilage on the top of your shin bone. That seems to wear out just like rubbers on your tires. This starts happening for some people at 40 and for some people at 60. But as it starts wearing out, it starts causing some discomfort. Sometimes that causes some swelling in your knees. So what do? You can start with ice, you can start with Tylenol. As you go on, you can start using some ibuprofen or Aleve. That seems to help a lot. But if it gets to be more severe than that, then you make an appointment with your doctor or your orthopedic surgeon. We can take a look at the situation, and then we sometimes will give an injection of cortisone. It's also important to understand that you should keep the muscles around that knee very strong. So we sometimes do a course of physical therapy. As time goes on, if the condition becomes worse, then sometimes we discuss a knee replacement. But that's far in the future. Thanks for watching. This has been PCN's Doctor's Orders.
We are so pleased to welcome back to set today Tom O'Brien, who's the Plymouth County Treasurer, for our segment that we call Treasury Notes with Tom O'Brien.
How clever is that?
How clever. Welcome back, Tom O'Brien.
It's a pleasure to be here, Julie.
Town meetings and elections are going on right about now, so I think something that's really appropriate that you know so much about is OPEB, which is Other Post-Employment Benefits, which are available to or assigned to municipal employees, federal employees, etc. What are they? Why do we need to know about them, and how do they affect the budgets of the towns?
Okay, so that's a lot. That's a lot. First of all, remind people, get out and vote in your town elections.
Yes.
I was talking to somebody and found out that in the town of Marshfield, I think they had about 7% turnout at the last election. So we really want to encourage people, if there's a town election, get out and vote. It's important. Attend your town meeting.
Yeah.
I know sometimes they're not the most exciting venues, but it's really important. And one of the important things you'll be talking about, do you like that segue?
Yeah.
Is other post-employment benefits. And it's funny, I noticed you even wrote it down because I have to deal with it every day, so of course it's something I know, but people residents in town, they deal with it once a year at their annual town meeting, and they're like, what is this thing, OPEB? Some of them mispronounce it as OPED and other things, but the easiest way to think about it is that it is health insurance for municipal employees.
Okay.
That's what it is.
After they retire?
After they, yes. However, you also have to cover the cost of their health insurance now, and so that's incorporated into the entire segment of health insurance.
Okay.
So other post-employment benefits stands for anything other than pension, which is health insurance and life insurance that they get upon their retirement. So here's the challenge. A number of years ago, the federal government came out, and state governments, and said cities and towns need to fund this obligation.
Correct.
Because at some point, your employees are going to retire.
Right.
They're going to be needing this health insurance that they've contributed into, and we need to find a way to fund and pay for it.
Right.
And so they created the Government Accounting Standards Bureau that determines what that liability is, and then cities and towns have to figure out a way to fund it.
Okay, and you have to base this on how long you think people are going to live, right? So there's actuarial tables involved in this also?
There are lots of actuarial tables, more than most people can stand, and they will put you to sleep.
Yes, they're frightening.
and really, it's interesting when you think about it, they're actuarial tables based on mortality.
Right.
So some of them are referred to as mortality tables.
Sure.
But that's what it is. How long is the average person going to live?
We have to fund this for as long as you live, so therefore we need to fund it appropriately.
As long as you're likely to live.
Correct.
So here's the challenge. This is something relatively new.
Yeah.
It came about probably about 15, 20 years ago. Most cities and towns did what they were supposed to do, which was identify the liability. And then they said, oh, that's a big number.
Yeah.
And most communities sat there and said, we're just going to wait and see what comes next. Well, what came next was another Government Accounting Standards Bureau rule or regulation, GASB 74 and 75, which says, okay, now that you've identified it, you have to start funding it.
Okay. So this is a requirement. This isn't optional. You have to do this.
Well, the good news is, as the government sometimes does with a carrot and stick approach, is they said you should fund it. You're not required to fund it, but here's the leverage that they have. Once it was originally identified as a liability, in the financial statements of the town, which are very important because your bond rating is based off of that, Up until recently, it was a footnote in your financial statements. All it did was say, okay, we've identified this liability as X number of tens of millions of dollars. It's there. We know it. We're not going to worry about it. It's footnote 7.
We're not going to put a line item in for this.
However, the GASB 74 and 75 said you have to put it above the line into the financials. And it has to hit against your net assets. And so cities and towns all of a sudden are saying, oh my God, this is a big number. It's going to throw us into a negative balance, which we don't like and which we're afraid will impact our bond rating.
So what do towns and cities do?
So here's the good news. Bond rating companies, Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and Fitch.
And this is when you're going to borrow money as a town, the better your bond rating, the better interest rate you get.
Absolutely correct.
Okay,
couldn't have said it better myself.
Go.
So the bond rating agencies understand this is happening.
Yep.
They understand cities and towns can't come up with tens of millions of dollars all at once.
Right.
All they're looking to see is that cities and towns are beginning to dedicate certain revenue streams to this liability and putting it aside every year.
Good faith. Yep.
That they're beginning to set aside monies to cover this cost, which they know is going to be down in the coming in the future. So it's a good approach, I think, by the government. They said, here it is. You're going to have to count it as a liability. You need to plan for it and start funding for it. So what you're seeing at town meeting and what you're seeing each community begin to do is decide where they're going to take money from to begin to fund this liability. Some of them are taking it out of free cash as that's available. Some of them are dedicating a hotel or meals tax to this. And so
options.
As long as they're planning and planning appropriately, they should be in good shape. So it's not anything they should panic about, but they should be doing.
But so that just makes it more understandable too that because it is a big line item, I know, on our budget in Pembroke, and it's good to understand why it's there and what it's there for. So OPEB, and that will go on and on and on, and I'm sure we'll get updates on that from you in the future.
I hope so.
Dollar cost averaging, can you just talk about the people that are in the market right now? People, you get nervous. Do I want to have my money in the stock market? Do I not? I don't know what's going to happen. I've heard of dollar cost averaging. What is it? How do you define that?
Yeah, so we've been in a very volatile market, right? Go back to January, it's been up and down, up and down, up and down. So as you're thinking about investing, whether you're doing that on your own or with a financial advisor, you might identify an investment that you like, a particular equity or a particular stock that you find interesting. Could be a company that you're familiar with, something we know, something that's all American, whatever floats your boat, so to speak. And you think it's a good investment. Rather than just pick one time to put all your money into that stock. The concept of dollar cost averaging is to say, pick a time period and invest in that stock over a period of time. The benefit of that is it helps smooth out the vagaries of the marketplace. Because invariably, there's an old saying in the financial industry, if you don't do things like dollar cost averaging, you're guaranteed to buy high and sell low. And we don't want to do that.
And that always seems to happen, right?
Always seems to happen.
Right.
So
pick a stock that you really like, the XYZ company that you have a lot of faith in, say, I'm going to invest in this for 2 years. I'm going to do it every 3 months, whatever it is, but do it consistently and stay with it.
That's correct.
And the average will win out in your favor, hopefully, in the end.
And that's the sense of dollar. That's the goal. That's the objective. That's the thought.
Okay,
yes.
Perfect.
And it does work over time.
Okay. And in our last minute, you read a book called Dollars and Cents, SENSE.
Yes.
What did you like so much about this book?
So it's a great book. It's recently out. It was published in November of 2017. It's written by Dan Ariely and Jeff Chrysler. Dan Ariely is a financial economist, and Jeff Chrysler is a comedian, a financial comedian.
Money's funny. We all know that.
And I love the subtitle of the book is How We Misthink Money and How to Spend Smarter. So a lot of people write books about how to save money, but this is how to spend smarter. It was a funny book. It talks about some of our human foibles, and really was an interesting look at what we think about money. I'll give you a quick example. One, if you win a wager with a friend or something, that's found money to you, isn't it? Right?
Absolutely.
So you're more likely to spend that on something extravagant that you wouldn't normally spend it on.
Why not?
But as they point out in the book, that's $10. That $10 is no different than $10 you work hard earning every day.
Right.
So you better think about that, not as something to maybe spend extravagantly, but to put in the pool and spend as you normally would $10 that you worked hard to earn.
Good advice. Dollars and cents. And you'll always get dollars and cents from you. Tom O'Brien, Treasury Notes. Thank you. We'll have you back again.
Great. I always look
Thanks
forward
for the information. And thank you for watching. If you want to see the show again, you can check out our website, and PCN is also on YouTube. Be sure to follow us on Twitter and like us on Facebook to get up-to-date info. We'll see you next week with a brand new PCN and PCN Life. From all of us at PACTV, have a great week.